Selamat welcome! Today we're going over the first ever Aurora deck to get LL points. Isn't this exciting? Only 2 days since release and we're already on the board. Go Team Lightning! So if you're not already a Crackle addict or on the Aurora hype train, let me sell it to you today. But first, before we go into the deck list, I'm going to talk a bit about the pilot who managed to be the first to etch their name into the Aurora Hall of Fame, who is not only very kind to share their deck list with us, but also answer a few questions that I had about their deck list and game plan, and they were very nice and willing to explain everything to me. And I'm going to share it today with you. So, let's go over the player profile. So, the first ever person to win LL points for Aurora is none other than Michael Ramsey, or known as Mick Ramsey in the Purple Discord. So, first of all, congratulations, Michael, on the W. He's a player from Texas, and he can often be seen at the Heroes Collectibles in Houston. And he's always been a member of Team Lightning ever since Arya. He played and had some success with Lightning Lexi and a Starvo meta, and he was even featured on the Dice Commando YouTube channel for his success. So when Rosetta was revealed and the heroes were out there, he was instantly drawn to Aurora because you can play the Lightning Fuse cards. And declaring no blocks and bringing a deck with tons of instants is right in his wheelhouse. The event itself was a PQ Plus or ProQuest Plus event called Blood on the Bayou, hosted by the Game Guys in the past weekend, and this PQ Plus had, of course, a PTI and a gold foil up for grabs. There were around 59 players, with many of them on the new heroes. We could see Yuki Lee Bender on Florian. The finals, we had a great player who is also on Verdance, and of course the winning list, the winning player himself, Michael Ramsey, was on Aurora. So overall, it's been a great event, and you can catch the event if you missed it. You can watch the VOD on YouTube. I'll link it to you down below in the descriptions if you want to watch the whole thing. Promise you it's going to be very interesting, and you're going to want to watch that, especially if you have your eyes on the meta and the new heroes. With the intro out of the way, let's take a look at the deck itself. And here's the deck list. He named the deck Cope Prey as a hint towards the meld cards, and this is the list that he used to win the event. We have the main board equipment. He's on Crown of Providence, Diadic Carapace, Grasp, Lightning Greaves, and Starfall for the weapon. This is pretty stock standard and in line with what I'm using. However, I'm on Tunic as my main equipment, and Diadic is in my sideboard. Let's take a peek at the deck itself. And Arcanic Shockwave, very good card. Most people run it because it's a 0 for 5. It pings, so it works well with CLV. Burn Up Shock, one of the few reasons to play Aurora. Electrostatic Discharge, Instant Speed Shenanigans, a lightning starter, works super well with Gone in Flash. E-Strike and Twine Lightning, Flittering Charge, Sizzle, Second Strike, Lightning Surge, Lightning Press, Gone in Flash, the other reason to play Aurora, and Snatch, Static Shock, Arc Lightning, CLV, all pretty stock standard reds and yellows. And for the blues, we have Blink and Current Funnel as the standard ones. So overall, the main board looks pretty solid, with a few 1 and 2 ofs, which I'm going to go into greater detail because I was curious, why did he have those 1 and 2 ofs? You can see he is on 2 EMS, 1 Fry, 2 Rabble, and 1 Weave Lightning. this is an interesting split of cards. Most people would be like on three ofs, like you would see like 3 EMS and then 3 Rabble and none of the Fry and Weave Lightning, or some people are like more heavy, they run the 3 Weave Lightning and no Rabbles and no Fries for the third EMS. So I'm going to try and explain to you what Ramsey told to me about his choice of bringing these 1 and 2 ofs in the main board. The explanation given to me for the 2 AMS is that even though it's a very, very good card, it's one of the best cards even, it's one of the main perpetrators for having a bricky hand. Because when you see like a hand that's not functional, usually EMS is in there. So that's why he swapped it for the 1 of Weave Lightning, which is another starter, and it's an additional non-attack action for a card that's in the inventory, which is very important. And Weave Lightning blocks as well. Meanwhile, EMS does not if you have no attacks in hand. I mean, sometimes you could block 6 with it if you have a density of 2 and 3 block attacks. You can like play out a block with 2 attacks and then EMS and grab both of those back, making it a blocking instant, but that requires you to have a certain number of attacks in the deck, and he just wanted more consistency, like more starters, and secondly, less bricky hands. That's why he made the swap of 2 and 1, but he still maintained some count of EMS because it is still a very good card. Next up is the 2 and 1 split of Rabble and Fry. Following a similar logic, Rabble is very good. It has Go Again Always, which Fry also has. It's usually more power since we're on a low blue count of 9. But again, McRamsey wanted to have more lightning cards for that consistency, having the starter, being able to swing weapon and make embodiments is quite important for him. So he made the swap to Fry, which we can see is reflected in the stats tab. The lightning count is a whopping 43. So I'm personally on 42 right now, if I remember correctly. Being on that additional lightning card really helps with the consistency. But again, he prefaced this explanation that he knows that his list is not perfect, and how could it be? This is only 2 weeks since we've seen the entire list of Rosetta, and we don't even know which heroes that are going to perform very well in the meta right now, because we only have our speculations and not real results. And this is what he brought, what he felt like at the time was the best mainboard package, and he brings this mainboard package against aggro matchups, aggro mirrors. That's why he has the Dyadic. It's a great 3 block that pivots, that lets you keep extra cards in your hand by providing the extra life to you in the aggro racing matchups. That's enough of the main board. So overall looks pretty great, pretty standard. Oh, and lastly, it's the blues. He's on 2 Heaven's Claw and 1 Sigil of Lightning. He wanted to fit in more Sigil of Lightnings, but at the same time, he was worried of having too many non-blocks in the deck, so he put the 2 Heaven's Claw in. But if he were to do it right now, he would cut at least 1 more Heaven's Claw to put in 1 more Sigil of Lightning, which is a better card off the top when you rip it off of CLV or Snatch. Meanwhile, Heaven's Claw really sucks when you draw it off the top because it's costed and it only attacks for 3, although it does block 3, and having a density of 3 blocks makes your EMS better. That's it for the main board, and let's take a look at the sideboard. And here is the, let's go through the equipments first. And here is the card that made him want to play the extra non-attack action in Weave Lightning. Being able to trigger Face Purgatory more often makes the card better, because if you have more chances, or if you see an attack and non-attack more often, you have better chance to maximize the value that you get off of your Face Purgatory, which can be a total of 8 value, assuming a card is worth 3, and most of the time it's actually more. So this can get like 8, 9, 10 value depending on what they discard and what you draw, which is a really great card that he plays into a couple of matchups. Shock Charmers and Spellfray Tiara is a nod to respect the wizards that are in the meta, and also Kano, who, even though he lost his books, is still a very, very strong contender, as we can see at the battle-hardened Sydney result, taking it all home. And for the last spicy tech equipment is Aether Iron Weave and Crown of Dominion. So this is a combo package together with Flicker Wisp that you can assemble if you have Arc Lightning, Flicker Wisp, an attack, any attack, and you can do Flicker Wisp, Arc Lightning, or an attack, or the other order for the Arc Lightning on Flicker Wisp, depending if you need the go again or not. And then after you played those, you break the chain to activate the Aether Iron Weave to ping the opponent for 2 arcane, getting you 2 resources, and that those 2 resources are going to be used to pop the gold that you get from Crown of Dominion, netting you an extra card for free. And the gold also pings your opponent for 2, which is great. And that's the big combo turn. And this combo you use against decks that are looking to block out your physical attacks, that are running a ton of defense reactions. Well, if you just send 2 arcane damage at a time at them, their mostly red hands, their red D-reacts, are not going to be able to prevent that arcane damage well. It's still going to be able to block out the attacks, but during this combo turn, like a majority of your damage, more than half, is going to be in arcane. And next up for the sideboard pieces is Exude, Confidence, and Sigil of Suffering. Exude is, I mentioned this in my previous video, again when I versed Enigma. This is very good against decks that have a ton of D-reacts and a bunch of like defensive instants. So for a defensive instance, it's mostly Enigma, but a ton of decks run D-reacts, especially Assassins. So you really want this. If you play it as your first link, they're stuck with 2 D-reacts in hand, you're just winning. And for our own D-reacts, we have 3 Sink Below, which is just generally good. This floor is super high on this card, even though the ceiling is like there, because there's only so much value or so many ways that you can use this. The floor and the ceiling is very near to each other, but it's a very high value card that helps you out in matchups that are reaction heavy. For example, Assassins again, and Guardians with their pummels. So having this is always great, and it helps you fix some hands, Aurora hands we call them, where you have like all instants or all attacks. And the Sigil of Suffering is that lower floor but higher ceiling card, because if you pair it with Channel Lightning Valley, you get to draw a card off of it, making it a 4 block that dealt 1 damage and replaces itself. So it's technically a 1 card 8 value if you value the card at 3. And the one of Warmongers is, the reason being is he was not able to get more copies of Warmongers before the tournament started. That's why there's only 1. If he could grab more, he would probably run more, because this card, as cheating as it is, Aurora is a rune blade that can utilize Warmongers very well, because we run mostly attacks and we don't really care about doing the non-attack into attack thing. That's mostly a Viserai and Vincent thing. Okay, a general sideboarding tip that we were given by Michael Ramsey himself is for the combo package. You bring it in against grindy decks like dual wielding warriors, guardians, earth heroes. You bring this in, and what you cut for it is 2 second strikes and a single weave lightning, and you don't need to take out extra cards. You replace the equipments of Crown of Providence and Dyadic Carapace, and you make the same cuts when you run the defense reactions into assassins, and you board in a little bit over 60 because you're only cutting 3 cards. Meanwhile, you're boarding anywhere from 4 to 6 cards with the exudes and the D-reacts. Face Purgatory is for reversing KO and assassins. And lastly, the spell voids are, like I mentioned earlier, a nod to respect to Kano. So these are the cuts that you would make if you have more Warmongers and you want to run those. You cut the Spellfray Tiara first. So that's it for the deck tech for the first ever Aurora that got LL points. Overall, I'm pretty happy as an Aurora player seeing our hero on the board immediately on the very first week. And not only that, we also saw 2 Auroras made top 8 at the Sydney Battle Harden. That just signals very, very good news for all of us Aurora enjoyers. Okay, that's it for the deck. And Michael Ramsey wanted to do a few shout outs for the people who helped him out at this event. So first of all is for his finals opponent, Evan Ford, and they go to the same shop, and he's very glad that he could have a Heroes Finals at the Houston event. Second is for Robert Ramsey, who's his brother, who also made top 8 and is the one who convinced him to play the combo package of Crown of Dominion, Aether Ironweave, and the 3 Flicker Wisps. And he said that he was not a believer until his brother insisted him on it. So thank you, Robert Ramsey, for making your brother a PQ Plus champion. And lastly, his final shout out is to Hamal Patel of Hammurabi TCG for getting his deck ready for the event. Buy from the bazaar. And that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is the best free way you can support me creating free Flesh and Blood content straight to your YouTube video feed. And as always, sampai goodbye.